Well, I'm going to sort of touch base on something, or I'll call it a mythical creature, the Goat Man. The Goat Man first appeared to us when we did room 118 at the Caldwell Motel. We were doing an investigation there, and in the footage, visually I seen this entity that I was less maybe 3 to 4 feet tall with horns that was peering, and we did catch him on tape as well, but he appeared to have horns on him. So that's how we first came in contact with this Goat Man figure or mythical creature. You know, me not knowing anything about the Goat Man and not realizing that it has a legend, and there's been so many Goat Man sightings in United States and into Canada as well. And basically a lot of the sightings were said to have started in the early 1800s in Louisiana, where this Goat Man creature would appear in the swamps, half man, half goat, and legends grew from that point, and then it carried on to different states. It was in Washington, Arkansas, Kentucky. The majority of the sightings that I've done research on seem to appear in the Deep South. It says it in the Deep South of the United States, and from the 1950s on, that's when the majority of the Goat Man sightings occurred. There was actually Fort Worth Lake. Actually, there was some kind of a phenomena that happened in the 1969, 68, 1970s, where there was actually a rash of sightings of this Goat Man, and actually the police made note that people disappeared. There was piles and piles of people that were disappearing, and people were making accounts of this strange Goat Man person that was accosting. Apparently the legend goes that couples that park on the side of the road, this Goat Man molests them or tells them to go away, and he's actually been known to actually rape males and females. That's part of the legend that I came across. And the sightings they always stress the Deep South seem to occur between October and May. I don't know what that year is or why they're saying October, May, but it seems to be prevalent in that. In Maryland, for an example, there seemed to be a train of thought that this Goat Man that's half man, half human was the result of maybe some kind of the federal government was involved in some kind of genetic research in regards to doing research on humans and animals, and this was one of these creatures was supposed to have escaped. So there's been a lot of sightings from 1968, 69 to the 70s in Maryland of this Goat Man creature. There was even Maryland, yes. Even Lakewood Brewery actually came out with a Goat Man beer. Can you believe that? So legends, I mean, there must have been some truth at some point to these legends, to a brewery company having a limited edition Goat Man beer. So, to cut it into a nutshell, when we seen our Goat Man in room 118, I mean, I had never seen anything like that before, visually or caught on tape. And to have that caught on tape, I mean, it's unreal. There's been other people in our travels that we met with have seen a particular Goat Man figure. And when I mean Goat Man, again, it's half man, half human with horns. I mean, there's different variations through the legends. Even in Washington County, Wisconsin, there's a legend that goes back to the Civil War. The end of the Civil War, there was a Civil War veteran that was his new bride. They were in a wagon and they were driving somewhere, and apparently their axle on their wheel, something happened. So the husband decided to go for help. He left his new bride in the wagon to look for help. She got tired of waiting, and she heard this noise, and there's this sniffing around the wagon, and she decided to investigate because her husband had been gone for a long period of time. So she decided to go off into the woods and look for her husband, and she did eventually find her husband. He was hanging upside down in a tree, all bloodied, and there was like hoof marks around her husband. So that's another legend that's in Washington County that is prevalent, and that goes back to the end of the Civil War. So, early 1800s, then it jumped to the 1950s, then the 1979, even in the Lake Worth Monster, there was actually a TV station was there. There was actually the newspaper, it made a front page story.
And Lake Worth is where?
Texas, Lake Worth, Texas.
Okay.
So again, Texas is being, not really, it's Midwest or whatever, not really the deep south, but near Denton, Texas as well, there is on an old bridge, there is said to be a goat man haunting that bridge, and that's in Texas as well, where apparently this goat man goes after couples that are parked on the side of the road, or people that are stranded on the side of the road, that he becomes violent. He's actually shaken vehicles, he's attacked people. So that's where that story comes from. And then, once you kind of unravel the myth, then you go back into the beginning of time, and you realize that even in early Mesopotamia, they worshipped goat-like deities. So it goes back further, in even the ancient Egyptians had Ptah was a god, that was a goat-like god that they worshipped. So it goes back even further in time, where this goat-like figure. Then we go to Pan. Pan, his father was Hermes, and Pan was the mythical goat-like god, and he was the god of nature. He was the god of desire, and he actually, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but actually he was, one of his specialities was lust, and he actually, legend goes that he taught his shepherds to masturbate, and a lot of the other gods weren't happy about that. But the goat is associated with prowess, vitality, and sexuality. So that's where a lot of the goat man legend, people don't want to hear that, but through the beginning, the eons of time, the goat has been, fertility, vitality, and sexual prowess. But it's interesting to think too that even the Knights Templar were said to, in their initiation practices, to worship Bahamut. And Bahamut, since in their time, was not really considered devil worship as it is now, but he's the goat or horn-like god that the Knights Templar were said to use in a lot of their rituals. And there was
hold on, let's look at that for a minute. This picture was used by the Knights Templar, later used by Satanic churches and occults.
So, going back to ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, then the Greeks with Pan, whose father was Hermes. So right from the beginning of time, there's always been this goat man figure that is sort of up to no good or whatever. And then we come again to, started in the early 1800s in the United States. So he's out there, and there's been a lot of people since our investigation of room 118 that have come forward to say that they've seen this goat-like figure itself. And another interesting note for all you skeptics or people that have different religious beliefs, they're actually mentioned in the book of Enoch in regards to Azazel, where they said that the people that fall, Azazel was part of the Watchers when you're dealing with Jewish mythology. Azazel was in charge of the Watchers, and his fallen angels were considered goat men because they would come down to earth in the evening, wreak havoc, and want to have sex with all the human women. So that's where the legend of the Watchers came from, and Azazel. So it seems like every belief through the beginnings of time have had a goat man or a goat-like figure that has been wreaking havoc on civilization, on people. And then we come to modern day, where ourselves in our own investigations, we have seen it visually.
And actually, we're the only paranormal team that's ever, or to anybody, out of anybody in the world, who's ever actually caught this on camera.
And that's amazing. Like I said, we actually at the time visually seen it when he manifested to ourselves, and then when we watched the video after that, we actually seen it. So it was myself and Timothy that both had seen it. So it's kind of incredible that he made himself known to us, and then that there's other people that have seen that, but we're the only ones who actually have caught him on video, where you can see that it's a goat-like entity, between 3 and 4 feet tall. And I mean, we're hoping that through further investigations, travels, and meeting up with people, maybe even the paranormal beat, that we'll come across people that have seen this goat man or goat-like creature, because it seems that almost every state in the deep south or the southwest has a legend or story about a goat man entity that lives in the swamps, hangs around bridges, terrorize people. That it's really amazing, and we're just happy to have caught him on video, so we can share it with the rest of you and go further and deeper into the mythology that is the Goat Man.